Hey there lovely people and welcome to the Gamers Rest. My name's Tal and this is the second part of our brand new series where I play through and review solo TTRPGs, share my thoughts with you and also give you the details of my own playthrough. And this is what the second part is going to be about, so this is going to be the details of my actual journey through the game. If you've not seen the game or seen my review, I would urge you to read that first or listen to it first because it'll make a lot more sense than just diving into this. But essentially, reference hopping is a one-page journaling RPG where you fill out reports travelling from library to library in the Multiversal Library Network. Just if you did want to catch the first part, you can either pick it up on the YouTube channel, it'll be on Spotify as an audio, and there'll also be a written version over on my Ko-fi, which is Tal Woodblaze. Don't forget you can also download a copy for yourself. It's on itch under reference hopping, and the same for Drive-Thru RPG. So I'd really appreciate it if you support this particular game. I've had a lot of fun playing through it, and supporting our colleagues who create these kind of things is a great way to help out however you can. With that all out of the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do maybe 1, 2, 3 of these videos, and they will just be me reading from my journal as I've written it down, just for audio purposes. So yeah, that's all from me. The rest will be the actual audio experience. I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Reference hopping journal. Statement 1. Employee information name Garrett Toll, ID 1106, primary branch tutorial, site information logonym Alpaca, site supervisor Oracle and DE, sequence of travel tutorial to ignorance to idiots to Alpaca. Task summary and status. Initial request summary: refurbish Camelid petroglyph viewing stations. Please provide a detailed report of activities and of any obstacles to completing your task. I arrived at the location quite quickly and with little issues. Met with site supervisor Miss Oracle Undie, and whilst it may not be appropriate to put this in my report, there was something about her that made my skin crawl. When she spoke, it reminded me of 1,000 snakes rustling through wet grass. Thankfully, she took me to the exhibit and then left me to get on with my work. The actual viewing stations themselves were in a terrible condition. Several were cracked and broken, as if somebody had taken a large hammer or an axe to them at some point, although why this had happened I've got no idea. I did ask the site supervisor how the damage had been caused. She didn't answer at first, seemingly distracted, but advised me that it was the work of mischievous children and that she had dealt with them in an appropriate manner, whatever that means. Due to the condition of the viewing stations, it was a 2-day job, and I've included the expense form for the hotel that I stayed in. I did consider working through the night, but I really didn't want to be on my own with the Oracle. The next day, all the glass was replaced, and we were able to reopen the exhibit for viewing public. As per company policy, site supervisor and DE signed off the work as complete to her satisfaction and said she looked forward to me coming again. Personal note. You asked me to report on anything strange or out of the ordinary. Well, site supervisor and DE definitely falls into that category, but there was something else. I can't prove it, but I swear one of the petroglyphs had changed. It no longer resembled a camel, but now looked like a winged creature of some sort. I would request that if any more work is required on this site, you don't send me. Maybe give it to Jerry? Report ends. 2. Employee information name Garrett Toll, ID 1106, primary branch tutorial, site information logonym Bass, site supervisor Uncle Ted, seekers of travel tutorial to tree to Bass. Task summary and status. Initial request summary, recall notice, Sanana Salea's best hits. Provide a detailed report of your activities and of any obstacles to completing your task. Upon arrival, I was met by the robust form of Uncle Ted. His giant bushy moustache and loud booming voice that echoed everywhere reminded me of a giant walrus. He was kind and friendly and graciously gave me a tour of the site. He seemed very proud of the work that they had been doing, but I'll be honest, I went a little deaf in my left ear as he bellowed every single word. After the tour, I explained I was here to collect all copies of Sana Sonella's best hits. Strangely, this was the first time all afternoon he was silent. His eyebrows creased and a worried look came over his bristling face. When I probed to see if there was a problem, he confided that the area where the copies had been kept had been cordoned off, as they had received a number of complaints from the public that the ghost of the legendary jazz musician Austin Perel had settled there and would scream at anybody who attempted to read the book. Now none of the staff would go near the section. I've never seen a ghost before, but I can't say I was that excited having to confront one now. But if I don't do the job, I don't get paid. Upon reaching the area, I heard a low muttering in a heavy German accent, and the only words I could make out were "liar" and "this is an outrage." I can't say I was that impressed with my first paranormal experience. Austin Perel looked more like a B-movie actor fitted with a rubber mask than a ghostly apparition of death. He was less than fearsome visage floated over me, book in hand. I spent the next hour listening to the fellow explain to me that several of the songs in the book credited to Miss Saleya were actually his own compositions. It turned out he was having an affair with the singer and she murdered him in order to steal his music. I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to say to him, but he seemed to perk up when I told him I was here to remove the books from the library. I did offer to inform the police about his demise, but he didn't seem that interested. As long as the books were no longer on the shelf, he was happy. I was able to collect the books and get my work slip signed. Personal note. Okay, so yes, a ghost would most definitely be considered out of the ordinary, but strangely that wasn't the weird part. As I was leaving, Austin looked at me closely and with a sad smile said, "I'll see you soon." Does he know something? Do you know something? Or was he just being friendly? I'm not really sure if this job is for me. Perhaps we could talk about this at my next one-to-one? Report ends. 3. Employee Information Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary Branch Tutorial. Site Information Logonym Clairvoyance. Site Supervisor Bunny Watson. Sequence of Travel. Tutorial to Caffeine to Clairvoyance. Task Summary and Status. Bestow Tome of the Lost Law on the Chosen One. Please provide a detailed report of activities and any obstacles completing your task. I know this is part of the course now, but this was a weird one. At first, I think I'd got my nodes wrong and I'd ended up in Dracula's castle. The walls were black, strange turrets decorated the exterior, and don't get me started on the old door that creaked like it hadn't been used in 1,000 years. Inside was, if anything, worse. Stone-cold walls, a draft that seemed to physically bite me, and row upon row what can only be described as ancient tomes. At first, I thought the place was deserted. As I was about to call out, I felt a tap on my shoulder that made me jump out of my skin. Luckily for me, it was the supervisor, Ms. Watson. To say she looked out of place was an understatement. She couldn't have been more than 20, with pink bubblegum hair tied in a long ponytail, and a smile on her face like she knew some secret about me even I wasn't aware of. I was genuinely surprised at the thick Russian accent she spoke in when she asked me if I was here to drop off the lost law. I told her I was, and she squealed in delight before dragging me across the room into an alcove that had previously been hidden from my view. Sat at a small reading table was the oldest woman I have ever seen. From her old thick rimmed glasses to the neat little bun of grey hair on her head, she was the literal definition of an old lady. If you looked up the definition, it would be a picture of her. She looked up from her knitting, squinted over those enormous specs, and gave me a toothy smile that was only slightly spoiled as her dentures dropped out of her mouth. A withered old hand left the sleeve of her lime green mohair jumper she was wearing, and if you're interested, it had a picture of a giant frog on it, telling the librarian she didn't want the book as she'd already read it. I handed her the book, and as she began to peruse the pages, I asked a cheerful bully to sign my work form. As I was just about to leave, I felt a tap on my shoulder, waist, and I turned to see the old crone hold up a yellow measuring tape. She unceremoniously began to measure me, tutting to herself as she did. I was too stunned to stop her. After a minute, she looked me up and down in her sweet little voice, said it'll be ready in 3 days, before sitting back down. I wanted to ask what she meant, but before I could get a word out, Miss Watson had ushered me to the door, claiming it was half-day closing and shutting it firmly in my face. Personal note. It's all weird, all of it, every last bit, but true to her word, 3 days later I received a lumpy package in the post. The thin, spidery writing immediately reminded me of my encounter. Inside was a nightmare of a purple and yellow stripes that apparently was a cardigan. The note simply read, "I hope it fits." How the hell did she get my address? Report ends. 4. Employee information name, Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary branch tutorial. Site information login, extrapolation. Site supervisor, J. Hyde. Sequence of travel, tutorial to truth to extrapolation. Task summary and status. Initial request summary, assist Professor J. Hyde with citation search. Provide a detailed report of your activities and of any obstacles to completing your task. I was met at the library by Professor Hyde, a small bespectacled man with a toupee that I swear had googly eyes sewn into it. I say the library, but in actual fact it was a basement room full of old pipes and strange cogs that seemed to go bing when they moved. There was only one shelf that had 6 books on it. The professor explained to me that he'd been trying to use the computer system to locate the citation by Harold Benton on the origin of evil omens. Having looked at his computer, I discovered, 1, it wasn't plugged in, and 2, it wasn't actually a computer, but a microwave oven. I did think about explaining this issue to him, but I didn't have the heart, so I went across to the shelf and pulled off the citation for him. He was overjoyed, shook my hand saying I must be some sort of wizard, and signed my sheet sending me away. Personal note. I really do need to raise a complaint or concern. I don't know if I did something wrong with the netbook, but when I arrived I was wearing that ridiculous cardigan, just out of nowhere. It looked like I'd come from a Harry Potter convention. Can somebody please have this fixed before I'm called out on the next job? Also, has anyone seen Jerry? He hasn't been in the office this last week and I haven't heard from him. Report ends. 5. Employee information name, Garrett Toll. ID 1106. Primary branch tutorial. Site information login, Jin. Site supervisor, Gandalf the Yellow. Sequence of travel, tutorial to Tin to Jin. Task summary and status. Initial request summary. Loan request, 17th edition of Advanced Stratonautics. Please provide a detailed report of your activities and any obstacles to completing your task. This should have been a very simple drop-off, but it definitely was not the case. The library itself was actually rather beautiful steel art deco. I believe everything was neat and precise. I was met by a well-bearded man with a full wizard's hat and canary yellow robes. It was like he'd stepped out from Lord of the Rings and then been doused in Dulux paint. To my surprise, he was a very softly spoken man, and I had to ask him to repeat himself several times. For several moments we just stood there. I had no idea what to say, and so I remarked on how clean the library was. I was sure he must have misheard me, as I thought he said that it was due to putting polishing cloths on the feet of spiders so that they cleaned as they went. I handed him the book as per the request. He took it, read a few lines from it, and, well, transformed into a 6-inch snowman with a cape and hat still in place. I spent the next 2 hours waiting for him to sign my worksheet. To be fair to him, he was trying to grip a bic with his arms made of sticks. Once signed, he took off his hat, bowed to me, and handed it to me. I took it graciously and left. Personal note. Okay, at this point I've pretty much given up on reporting the weird stuff. It's all weird, but somehow not that surprising. Oh, and don't worry about the cardigan. It's actually quite comfortable, and for some reason, always has a box of raisins in one of its pockets. I'm really starting to worry about Jerry. Has he contacted anyone, or has anyone spoken to his family? Report ends. And there we go. That is the first episode of my read-through of my playthrough. I hope you enjoyed it. Do stick around for the next one, which will be another 5 reports. And don't forget, you can like and subscribe. You can follow me across the social media under the Gamer's Rest. And you can check out my Ko-fi, where you'll see some of the work I do. As a designer of tabletop role-playing games, we also interview people, and we're now reviewing solo TTRPGs. But that's it for today. Thanks very much for taking the time to listen, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.